Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm about 2.5 years alcohol-free. When I first started questioning my drinking, I struggled in silence. I found the Recovery Elevator podcast, and I remember thinking with such relief, I'm not the only one. And that realization led me to the Cafe RE community. Cafe RE was and still is an important piece of the success I've had on this life-changing journey. The daily chats helped me meet people who really understood. I felt seen and cared for, and I formed genuine friendships that helped me grow. If you're feeling curious about your own relationship with alcohol, you don't have to do it alone. Go to www.cafe-re.org and enter the promo code CONNECT for your first month free. Again, that's www.cafe-re.org and use the code CONNECT for your first month free.
Recovery Elevator episode 590.
It was cool being social with friends. I made some really good new connections with people. But then as soon as I would get home, the negative thoughts would come, and I could not be in my own skin alone.
Welcome to the Recovery Elevator podcast. My name is Paul Churchill, and this is how we quit. On today's episode, we have Stef. She's 39 years old, from Truckee, California, and she took her last drink of alcohol on March 24th, 2026. Great job, Stef. If you're wondering what you can expect in your first 7 days alcohol-free, well, we just created a free 7-day guide for your first 7 days. There's a link in the show notes, and again, this 7-day guide is free. Okay, let's get started. The title of today's episode is, Are You Broken? Let me just answer that right out of the gate and say, yes, you're broken. Not because you have a drinking problem or have crashed and burned with alcohol, but because all 8 billion humans on the planet are perfectly imperfect or broken. So if you're going to breathe air and do laps around the sun, the world will break you. But hang with me. I want to keep this podcast positive. It's how you grow. A musician named Leonard Cohen had a great song lyric about this. He says, "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." Author Ernest Hemingway had a great line in one of his books. He says, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." There's a Japanese practice called kitsugi, I think that's how you say it, where when pottery breaks, they repair it with a glue that contains powdered gold. So rather than trying to hide the cracks or the breaks in the pottery, they highlight it and the brokenness is celebrated. Again, the repair doesn't restore the object to its original state. It transforms it into something more beautiful with visible cracks filled with gold. So yeah, you're broken. And my hand just went up as well. And maybe a drinking problem has you feeling extra broken. Well, as Rumi said, the wound is the place where the light enters. So yeah, a drinking problem will break you. It might absolutely break you. And that can be alchemized or transformed into your greatest strength. So have a seat caterpillar who transforms into a beautiful butterfly. The transformation that someone makes when stepping into an alcohol-free life is, well, words can't describe it. Now, a ship in port is safe, but that's not what ships are for. You're meant to go out, explore, have adventures, get cuts and bruises, and maybe throw down one too many tall boys while you're out there. It's all part of the game. Now, my kid, who just turned 2 years old, he's already got battle wounds from life. He's already had stitches, he's got scars, yeah, and I wish that wasn't so, but that's how it is. Now, my wife was getting upset with me because it seems like every time we return from a walk in nature or an adventure, he's got scrapes. But we both agreed, yes, our son will be safer inside our home, where every corner or edge has a piece of foam around it. That's not where our child is supposed to be. And I know the world is going to break my child. But that's how he grows. That's how we all grow. So your drinking problem is how and where the light enters. Don't for a second think it's a curse or that your life is over. It's just beginning. I hope you all enjoyed today's intro. Before we hear from Stef, I want to mention this is an ad from BetterHelp. Let's talk how to thrive instead of just surviving this summer. For some, summer is the best season. Barbecues, camping, the sun's out later, the kids are out of school. For others, it can be tough. The kids are out of school. You got to juggle it all. And this can lead to overwhelm, and you're counting down the minutes until the kids are back in school. So the seed I want to plant with you at the beginning of summer is to take care of yourself. Put yourself first. And a great way to do that is therapy, to talk it out. We believe in BetterHelp, what they're doing. That's why we've been partnering with them for over 5 years. They've got over 1.7 million client reviews with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars. You don't have to say yes to everything this summer. Find support and therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/elevator. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/elevator. Stef, how are you?
Doing great, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, Stef. Let's get right into this. When was your last drink?
March 24th of this year, 2026.
Yeah, at the time of recording, that's 41 days. Incredible job, Stef. How do you feel?
Thank you. I feel really good. It's nice having a clear head.
Yeah.
Super.
And in the email that Stef sent me, she mentioned she had over 4 years before, and we'll get to that. But I want to say thank you, Stef, for reaching out. I did a sobriety call out for early sobriety interviews, and coming on at 41 days, you're a total rock star. And in fact, I've heard this story so many times that when people look at the catalog of the Recovery Elevator episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, they will scroll down and find the person with the least amount of sobriety time. Do you have any idea why, Stef?
Well, we all want that experience of how someone has gotten through it.
Yeah, it's that, and they're more relatable. Because I remember when I was quitting drinking and there would be somebody with 16 years of sobriety. I'm like, well, that's not me. That'll never be me. And then I'd find somebody with 8 days and be like, whoa, 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 let's chat. Let's talk. So Stef, I'm happy you're here. I know it's going to help a lot of people. And before we get into your story, Stef, can you give listeners a little information about yourself? This is like where you're calling in from, your age, maybe what your professional and family life looks like. And then most importantly, what do you like to do for fun?
All right, cool. I'm calling in from Truckee, California, Tahoe. I'm 39 and I work in property management, and I have 2 dog daughters.
What kind of dogs?
A 13-year-old Cocker Spaniel, and then a 2.5-year-old Chihuahua Border Collie mix.
Chihuahua and a Border Collie mix. Describe that for me.
She's super cute, 25 pounds, lots of little spots. She looks like a little mini, like a German wire-haired pointer or short-haired pointer, one of the two. She's super cute, though.
Is she super smart, like the Border Collie?
Oh, smart. The smartest dog, and knows how to relax. If I want to sleep all day when I was hungover, she would just be curled up next to me all day long. So actually both of them. But she's got energy. She could run 25 miles an hour.
Wow. My next dog, it's either going to be a salchicha, like a dachshund, a wiener dog, or a Border Collie. Or maybe there's a mix out there. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's like a wiener Border Collie somewhere out there. Did Truckee get a lot of snow this winter? I'm going to guess no.
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 It's been here for 11 years, and it is, I don't want to say the worst because that's a negative thought, but definitely the least amount of snow this year.
Okay, yeah. Bozeman didn't get a winter either, but I've driven through Truckee in the wintertime, and I remember walls on the side of the road or the freeway being like 12 feet high. Yeah, it was a pretty light year for Montana. We got 2 huge snowstorms in April, which the mountains are going to be so thankful for, and just kind of fire season. Well, Stef, let's do what we came here to do. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll jump in with questions. Let's do it.
I probably had my first sip of alcohol when I was really, really young. I was the little beer getter for my dad and his friends. I grew up, I was the only kid around. All my dad's friends didn't have kids, so I hung out with them. So I was pretty socially awkward when it came to school and all that. But when I had my first, probably a Smirnoff or something, I felt at home. And then I proceeded to drink every type of liquor that there was, threw up, had my second wind. and just had the best time of my life. And I felt like I was so cool and everyone liked me and I fit in with everybody. So it was
Steph,
definitely,
was that your first time drinking? You threw up and then rallied?
that was my first drunk. Yeah.
Okay. And
That's
can
the
you
first time.
explain the feeling of you felt home?
Yeah. I just didn't feel awkward. That social anxiety was gone. I loosened up and my personality had come out, alcohol really gave me a personality that I didn't have otherwise, I don't think. So
Yeah, a lot of nodding heads out there. You're doing great. Keep going, Steph.
I was on a pretty tight leash with my dad, so I wasn't able to really go and party a lot. It wasn't until like I moved out when it really ramped up and I got kicked out of the house. So I was kind of just floating around and doing a lot of partying. I grew up in Los Angeles, so Hollywood was my stomping grounds. I had a boyfriend when I was 21 to 22. He unfortunately passed away in a drunk driving accident. And the only coping skill I had, or how I knew how to cope with things, was to just get wasted and forget it.
Did he pass away when you were with him?
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. Yeah.
So that was tough. So I just kept drinking. I got my first DUI shortly after that. Skipped out on the court dates and had warrants. Drugs are a part of my story as well. So I was just doing anything to numb out all the pain, growing up in fear as well. I didn't like how I felt, so I used all that to mask it. And
Steph, let me ask the question. Did you know you were numbing out? Because there was a time when I was drinking. I was, but I didn't know that. Were you aware of what you were using alcohol for?
no, I didn't want to be sad anymore, so I would drink and I'd feel better. But then what comes along with being super wasted and with all these negative emotions is, I'd have mental breakdowns all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you pull out of that?
So after that DUI, I like ran from the courts and all that for about 2 years until I got picked up on a warrant. And then I got sentenced AA meetings. That was the first time. So I did get sober. I was sober around 6 months then. And walking into my first AA meeting felt like that first Smirnoff Ice or whatever it was. I felt like I belonged there and that sobriety was a thing. I knew that I had a problem with, just all the trouble and how I would feel, negative mindset and stuff. So when I got sober for that first time, that felt right. I was only halfway sober though. I was still smoking marijuana. So
Steph, I got to highlight what you said there. And I don't think this is episode 590. I don't think I've ever heard it said that way. So your first drink of Smirnoff Ice, you felt at home. And then when you went into an AA meeting, you felt that same sensation without the Smirnoff Ice that you were home. Wow.
yeah,
That landed with me. And listeners, if you felt the fireworks go off in your brain after your first drink, there's a chance when you go to your first meeting or your first cafe or you chat or burn the ship with somebody else, a loved one, about your drinking, you're going to have that same feeling. I love that. Okay, so you're in your mid 20s.
yeah, that was when I was 24. So
Okay, and you got 6 months away from alcohol.
that's right. I moved across town and never called my sponsor and eventually started drinking again. But
Okay.
mind full of AA and the belly full of alcohol just does not mix. And I was like, okay, well, everything I learned in AA, I'm going to apply and I'm going to do this. I'm not going to drink alcoholically. And I thought I had it all figured out, of course.
Meaning you wouldn't go overboard, like you'd keep it in check.
Yeah, I would
Okay,
moderate.
there we go.
I'd find that friend moderation that I've never been able to find. And it was okay for a little bit, but shortly after that, I met some friends at a new job and we'd go out after work or on the weekends. And then it turned into me drinking at work. And I had this really cool job at a doggy daycare and I was just hungover most of the time. And it was an indoor doggy daycare. So the barking would really get to me. So I just try and chug water and do something in the back, clean kennels or whatever it was. But I just felt so bad doing that. And even talking about it now, I'm just like, those poor dogs weren't getting all of me, just like a lot of people in my life haven't. I've just been kind of existing. I was dating my drug dealer, of course, a little fast forward there, a couple years into starting drinking again. And, I got fired from this doggy daycare job due to my drinking, essentially. So I was on unemployment and I couldn't pay rent because I was spending all of my money on alcohol and drugs. So I got evicted. I ended up moving into grandma's house, which is really cool in Sacramento. This was 2014 now. So 2011 was when I went to my first AA meeting and felt at home. And then by 2014, I was a mess. Grandma took me in, thank God for her. And I spent the summer, got a job, and I wasn't drinking and partying like I was when I was down in Los Angeles, but I was hiding bottles of rum in my room and only drinking like after everyone in the house had gone to bed, playing online poker. But it wasn't too bad. Then I moved to Tahoe, and that's when the party really started again. I was like, oh, I'll move up there, and I've been doing pretty good. I'll go up to Tahoe and like start snowboarding all the time. That was really my main goal of why I moved up here. Really enjoy snowboarding, but I chose the party instead. So I had no money to go snowboarding. I was just partying all the time again. Then more DUIs come. 6 months into moving up here, I got my second DUI.
Yikes, the second one's less of a slap on the wrist and it gets more serious, right?
Absolutely. And that guilt and shame, I was like, dang it. But luckily, I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't hurt myself. Stopped drinking for a little bit. Not really, though. I was doing my DUI program and just really tried to slow down. I was like, okay, well, here we go again. All right. Now I'm really starting to realize, I'm like, huh.
When you say here we go again, what do you mean by that?
Here we go again. I got caught.
Okay.
That's when it was starting to click. I was like, I might have a little bit more of a problem than I think I do have if I'm getting into trouble. Also, there was, oh, these cops in this town are just so bored. Everyone gets a DUI up here. So I felt caught again, but I didn't stop drinking really then. And then I got a third one. I got my third DUI in 2019. So from 2014 to 2019, I was just drinking a lot, hanging out the lake, just being a degenerate.
But at that time, I imagine you were surrounded with friends who drank the same amount as you.
Oh yeah, I found the same people that, all we did was drink and party.
Yeah. And then after the third one, was there a voice that's like, look, Steph, this isn't right?
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely was. On record, according to the DMV, it was my second one again. So because the first one had dropped off. So I think it was an 18-month program. And, by this time, the DUI counselor knew me. The judge at court, she was like, this is your third DUI. You need to start realizing that something might be wrong here. And I was like, no, not really. I've got this. I stopped drinking probably for like 2 months. But see, in the second and the third DUI, I wasn't sentenced to AA meetings. It wasn't until my fourth one that happened 11 months later. COVID had happened. I was trying to be sober on my own. A bunch of people I worked with, we all got sober together. I worked at a restaurant and, everything was shut down. So, they had to empty the kegs. So there was free beer. And probably a week into the free beer thing, I was like, all right, let me just have one. I was just so tempted. So yeah, that was bad because it just all ramped back up again.
Listeners, I rarely say this during an interview, but I want to encourage you to focus on the similarities and not the differences. I know that probably the majority of our listeners have yet to have a DUI, right? But there's something else that's the equivalent of a DUI in your life. And Steph, I should have 4. I've got one. So with me, I'm like, yeah, I hear you, Steph. What's up? One of them that I got let off on, I was doing the roadside sobriety test. And my buddy was in front of me and he crashed his car. I was following him. And the officer said like, yeah, we found him, code 684. And the officer looked at me and he goes, was that your friend? I go, yeah, that's a good friend of mine. And he died. And so he looked at me and he knew I was drunk and he just said, get out of here. And so, yeah, I could be like, well, I only have one, but that's 100% one that I should have had. So I'm with you, right? And wow, the fourth DUI, was there a voice at this time? It's like, wait, it might be a drinking problem and less of a driving problem.
Prior to this fourth DUI, I had stopped drinking on my own. I had a boyfriend at the time. We both stopped drinking. I was secretly sneaking drinks in here and there. I was convinced that he was cheating on me with our roommate. So I spent one whole day, this was August 8th, 2020. I spent one whole day drinking. White Claws were a thing. I never had a White Claw. So I was like, I'm going to have White Claws all day. And I did. We didn't find any booger sugar that day, but we were trying really hard. And I'm so, so grateful we didn't, because when I got home that day, it was like around 8 o'clock at night. I was so convinced and so delusional that I thought they were hooking up, my roommate and my boyfriend at the time, that I left and went to the gas station down the street. I don't know, got those little Smirnoff little shooters, right? Drank a few of those in the parking lot at the gas station. Driving back to the house and messing on my phone or something, playing music or something. I just got in this new Jeep Cherokee, and it was new to me. It was a 2004, but it was the first car that I'd ever like purchased on my own. So I was super proud to have it. But it was only like 2 weeks after I got that Jeep that I had crashed it into a parked car right 2 or 3 houses down from where I was living at that time. And this is when I knew that someone up in heaven or whatever, had my back. I had someone looking out for me, because if that car was not parked there, it was a steep 200-foot hill, maybe, I would have driven off that cliff. And who knows what would have happened. I'm so happy that I had hit the parked car.
Oh, okay. Now I understand the parked car prevented you from going over the hill and perhaps something more tragic. Question,
Yeah.
there's part of me is like, was your roommate hooking up with your boyfriend? Did you ever figure that out?
So I crashed the car. I went back home. I got into the bathroom and like started cutting myself. I wanted to die.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
suicide attempts are also a part of my story. I don't know. Fast forward, were they ever hooking up? I don't think so. The stories I would make up in my head with my own insecurity and then add alcohol to the fire. I was convinced. So I'm locked in the bathroom. They're both trying to get me out. I have it like barricaded. I won't get out. So she calls 911 on me. And the ambulance gets there and they're like, why were you trying to end your life? And I was like, well, I crashed my Jeep. So then they're like, oh, so you're drinking and driving. So they took me to the hospital on a 5150 hold. And God, I just remember laying there like, okay, if I can convince these people that I'm not crazy and I don't want to die, because I don't, it's just when I'm drunk, I do, then I will go back to AA. That was the real bright light bulb moment. I've had little ones, but it's never been so like a clear, obvious, like you have a problem. Like it's always been like, oh, maybe I do, or maybe I can try and control this, but failed attempt after failed attempt.
Was that when you got your fourth DUI?
That was the fourth DUI.
That was the
So
fourth. Okay. Yeah, you
I,
were in a really low spot, a dark spot. And I've been there. We've all been there. Our heart goes out to you. What happens next?
after one whole day of drinking, after like I think it was about 3 months of trying to be sober and like maybe having like 1 or 2 sneaky drinks in that time, I blew a .24. And so I was just like shaking. I don't know if that was delirium tremens or what, but I don't know if it was alcohol poisoning, but I was the most hungover I've ever been. The security guard's just like playing a game on his phone, watching me the whole time. It was like, I can't believe this is what my life has come to. So I'm like, if they don't lock me up in a mental hospital, I'm going back to AA. I was facing a hit and run because I just like left the scene after I hit that parked car and the fourth DUI. But I only got charged with the DUI. They dropped the hit and run. So the fourth DUI, I got sentenced to do AA meetings. So the first and the fourth. So I was like, all right, here we go. And it's COVID. I'm like, I have to figure out how to do this online. Oh my God, this is so hard. I figured it out. I dove in. I dove in deep.
And is this when you started on the 4.5 year stretch?
Yep. So August 9th, 2020 was the real sobriety date. I was still smoking weed, of course, marijuana maintenance thing. I stopped after a year. I was also on house arrest because it was COVID. They wanted to put me in jail, but I think because it was COVID, I got lucky and got 180 something days of house arrest. And I was an alcohol monitor as well. Hated that. It was so expensive, but it saved my life. 3 or 4 months into it, I was wanting to drink on it and see what would happen, but I didn't. And I got through it. I was doing AA meetings. They say 90 meetings in 90 days. I was probably, this is COVID. We're on lockdown again. So I was spending like 8 hours a day on Zoom AA meetings because I didn't know what else to do. And hearing other people's stories got me out of mine. And I was able to get through it. I didn't get a sponsor until about a year or so into it, but I had stopped smoking weed. I got the sponsor. I worked the steps. It took me forever to get through those. The first time back in 2011, when I was in my first round of AA, I got to the third step and I was like, I'm not looking inside myself. So I didn't want to do that fourth step. I was still the victim. Never saw my part in anything. But when I truly was honest, the freedom that came from that and realizing how terrible of a person that I actually am, not only to myself, but to other people. My mom was one of my greatest victims. I was a terrible daughter, but I get to make that up to her now. She's luckily still in my life and I can make that up to her. My dad and I didn't have a really good relationship. He drank a lot too. And then when he would get drunk, he wasn't very nice, I'll say. So I had a lot of praying to do about that and a lot of forgiving to do. We have a great relationship now. I was able to get invited out to a family vacation. He's remarried. And that was one of the greatest gifts of sobriety, was getting that relationship back that I didn't even know that I wanted. But I need that in my life. So we have a really good relationship now.
So something worked for those 4.5 years, right? Would you attribute that to AA, the community, that Smirnoff Ice feeling of I'm home in a sober community, not with Smirnoff Ice? Was it the sponsor? And then what happened after that? Because it sounds like you drank again, right?
I definitely attribute it to AA and the higher power. Podcasts like this one also saved me. After I got off the house arrest, I got a different job and I was just had headphones in and listening to podcasts when I wasn't going to meetings. And then having friends also that were sober really helped. When I was a year sober, I lost another boyfriend to drunk driving, and that was difficult, but I remained sober through that.
Wow.
Absolutely terrible. It was way harder than before. We were together for a lot longer. So losing him was terrible. I've also lost my grandmother at 3 years of sobriety. That was terrible, but I remained sober through it. I had a good support group of people that were there and had my back. It's all the higher power and having that clear head and praying that and meditation that really helps me. People can say what they want about AA. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. But it's the only thing that has ever been able to help me. I can't do it on my own.
Absolutely. For some people, it's been a lifeline. I met somebody this past weekend. Yeah, it was court ordered. And they're like, without that court order, I wouldn't be here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
with that court order, I'm doing it because I have to, because the courts want me to. So I ended up drinking April 16th last year. I was just snowboarding by myself here, and it was the last day of the season. And I was like, those high noons look really good. I never got to have one of those. So I spent $13 on one. It just came out of nowhere. I was just like, I wasn't going to meetings anymore. Kind of dropped off that, and I was just sober. So I had that high noon. And then 2 months into that is when the drinking really started ramping up. It was just on weekends, and then it became after work and on weekends. And then it quickly became drinking at work. And then I'm driving again, trying really not hard not to, but then I'm driving. I'm like, I'm not wasted and I'm slightly buzzed. It's okay. Oh, the stupidity and the insanity of that. I quit because I wanted to this time. It got so bad. Again, I didn't want to live. I got into another depression. That's what alcohol does to me. It makes me not want to exist anymore. It was cool being social with friends. I made some really good new connections with people. But then as soon as I would get home, the negative thoughts would come, and I could not be in my own skin alone. So I'm like, okay, Steph, you know better than this. And, I was doing that whole bender binge drinking thing where probably like 4 or 5 days in a row, I'd be drinking until like I absolutely just felt so sick. And then so I'd take a few days off And as soon as I started feeling better, I would drink again. And so this little merry-go-round for a couple of months there at the end of this little drinking career that I had, I'm like, I need to stop before something bad happens. If I don't kill someone else, I'm going to kill myself. If I get another DUI, I'm going to prison. My life is over. And all because of my choices. So it really was like, okay, one day, it was on like that third day, that fourth day of like not drinking, the alcohol's out of my system. And I was thinking, like, do I go to a meeting or do I go and drink? I went to my first meeting back in AA and I admitted that I was on day one. And that was so hard to do, but so
Steph,
very
can you
humbling.
unpack that internal conversation you had on day three? You said, hey, I can either go to a meeting or I can keep drinking. It was almost sound like you downplayed that a little bit, but I imagine it wasn't that easy.
No, absolutely not. I'm like, either I continue with this insanity, I feel good. So yeah, let's drink again. But I know exactly what that's going to turn into. It's going to turn into a binge, a bender, and then I'm going to feel like crap again. So why don't I just try to go to an AA meeting?
And was that March 24th?
That was the 25th.
25th. Okay. That's right.
Yeah, so
Last drink was the 24th.
that is my sobriety date.
Did
Um,
you have a similar feeling on the 25th of March of this year of like, hey, I'm home. Maybe I'm not where I want to be with my day count and stuff, but I'm home.
yeah, the 24th, I probably had like one or two drinks because I was so afraid of getting like a seizure or something, grand mal seizure. So it tapered off a bit there. But on the 25th, I was like, okay, so I could either go drink again or I can do this meeting thing. I felt at home. It was so hard to do, but I felt at home. And admitting that I was on day one took a lot for me to actually admit that. And then I called my sponsor. Well, I actually texted my sponsor and told him that I had relapsed, and that's why he hadn't heard from me in months. As scary as that was, I thought going to be for me, it was not. He's like, I'm just glad you're back. And I was like, I'm going to stay. And ever since then, now we're on day 41, I've been doing up to 5 meetings on Zoom a day. I took my 30-day chip at the local in-person meeting, and that was difficult. I almost left like 3 times, but I stayed. And I've got some new friends in the program now that I can reach out to, and I haven't forgotten everything that I learned. So I'm able to like help other people, that are spiraling with stuff. And it feels really good. It feels really good to be able to help people because so many people have helped me. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast as well. I'm like, how many stories I've heard on this that helped me that I can relate to? Every single one of them, doesn't matter age, male or female, or nothing matters. It's just all the same. We have this similar thing. We're making it through though, day by day, which is such a gift.
It's neat how recovery is structured, where once you find your footing, there's this internal voice that's like, all right, we got to help somebody else to get out of the hole, get out of the ditch. And that's what you're doing right now, Steph. This will be heard by thousands of people. There will be somebody right now hearing this who's probably thinking, it's not going to work. I can't do this. I might as well take my life. Well, Steph, what do you have to say to that person?
Oh my God, give yourself a chance. Try it. Stay here. We all have a purpose. Let's figure out what it is.
Steph, I'm a firm believer we cannot think ourselves out of a drinking problem. I'm guessing you tried. I tried, gave it a good go. Consider myself a semi-intelligent person. Couldn't do it. But there is one exercise that is effective using the brain. It's called playing the tape forward, right? When I would have a craving or be like, hey, dude, what do you think is going to happen, Paul, based on the last 100 times you drank? And it'd be quite clear. I'm not going to be able to stop after one. It's going to be a shit show. Steph, what do you think is going to happen if you drink again?
Something bad is going to happen. I have a feeling. I know it. It's always gotten worse for me every time I drink. It just keeps getting worse. And so I'm going to crash my car. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill my dogs. I'm going to kill someone else. Or I'm going to kill someone else and and live in prison the rest of my life. I can't. I know I have a greater purpose. I don't know what it is yet, but I want to live to figure it out.
Yeah, there were some options there. What do you think will happen? And I wouldn't pick any one of those, and I know you won't either. And that's why we're here. We're choosing a different pathway.
Yeah.
And how are you going to make it to day 42 and beyond?
Pray, not pick up a drink, and probably end my night on one of these Zoom meetings that I like so much.
Can you talk to us about higher power? You've mentioned it a couple times. You just said pray. What does praying look like for you? How do you do it? And talk to us about your higher power.
I didn't grow up in religion, so I'll use the God word because it's most accepted and it's easy to say. God help me is my number one prayer with whatever it is. If I have a negative thought, I just say that when it comes to negative thoughts that I may be having. And God help me not have this thought anymore, redirect my thinking. And it happens, it works. So it works for me.
And then what is your concept of a higher power? How do you make conscious contact with the higher power?
Meditation. I join in on a meditation meeting. I sit quietly, even if I'm not on a meeting. In my car, breathing exercises really help. And just kind of get out of my own head and stay in the sunlight of the spirit. One of my favorite AA lines. Yeah, it's just being willing and being open to whatever it is that I call my higher power. I used to say it was unicorns just because I could make up my own concept. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be unicorns then. So why not?
Steph, how do you get past cravings? I imagine the last 41 days, there's been a pull a couple times, right?
Yeah, like you said, play the tape forward. And I actually haven't had a craving to drink, thankfully, in the last 41 days because I know what it's going to do. I'm going to feel like crap. I'm going to have terrible thoughts. So I just play that tape forward and I'm like, no, why don't we just drink some water or something or go for a run? I'm trying to replace all my bad habits with good ones.
How has your depression or your mental state responded in the last 41 days?
I'm so happy. I can't live in regret. I'm just trying to put my best foot forward day by day. And it feels really good to have a clear head and being present for everyone in my life.
Have you ever heard the term a grateful alcoholic at an AA meeting?
Absolutely.
Do you think you'll ever get there, or are there parts of your journey or addiction that you're thankful for?
Oh, I'm there. I am a grateful alcoholic. It's a complete 180 of what my life was like. We had this conversation, me and a friend the other day. I'm grateful to be an alcoholic. I'm grateful for my past. I can live in regret or I can choose to, forgive myself and just not make those same mistakes.
Did you do the fourth step with your sponsor?
Yeah, I did last week. We're doing this expedited way through the steps, and then we have a Buddhist journey following that. So another plan for more action.
Can you explain what the fourth step process looked like for you to listeners?
Stop playing victim, you know, seeing my part. How did I have an effect on other people or an effect on this situation? I always have a part in it. I can't sit there and play victim. That's just blocking me from the positives that I can get from admitting my faults, which was so hard to do. Being honest about that to myself was the most important part.
I did the fourth step and I'm incredibly thankful for it. And for me, my sponsor basically had me write everybody I've ever come in contact with on a piece of paper and resentments, what they did, why I was upset with them, and even people that I wasn't upset with, people, places, and things. It's like, are you serious? This is probably going to take me 6 months to a year. He's like, cool. All right. And then when I met with him, it was 2 hour long sessions at a coffee shop or in a back corner, a booth. I read my entire notebook. I think it was a notebook and a half or whatnot, but just me reading for an hour and 45 minutes, a session and a half, whatnot. And it became so apparent, not like, oh, I'm the problem, but it became so apparent. I've got a part in every problem, at least 50% of every problem I've ever been a part of. And with that awareness, with that realization, it's like, wow, man, yeah, you can point the finger at somebody else. But let's not ignore the plank in our own eye or our own eyes, as has been said before. So what was that realization like when you said like stop being the victim? What was that like?
Just realizing that was humbling. Like you just said, 50% of it, probably more for me that I had a part in all of that. Of course, other people have wronged me, but did I have a hand in that? Yes, I made the choice to put myself in these stupid situations. So it all comes back to fear, really. A lot of freedom comes from that stuff, being rigorously honest, and not holding back anything.
You just said something quite powerful. You said it all comes back to fear. And I know you've heard this in an AA meeting that drinking is but a symptom, right? And life is complicated, but it also might not be. It could all be fear. And not just for you, but for everybody. I think everybody who lashes out at somebody else is a fearful child inside. Everybody. And so how have you been able to sit with this fear, unmedicated, raw as can be, and say, hey, Steph, we're going to feel this and we're not going to drink? What's that been like?
Reaching out, I have a new sponsor, and reaching out and trying to talk it through with her, or even just talking out loud to my higher power. I get the answers. Why am I afraid? How can I not be afraid? And it's just all a learning experience that I'm going to remember, so that whenever this comes up from someone else, a friend or anyone, let me tell you what my experience with this is and how I got through it. Because if you're being blocked by that fear, you're never going to overcome it.
Well, Steph, we have hit the rapid fire round. If you could answer these questions in 5 to 10 seconds, that would be rad. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. What's the one thing you've learned about yourself on this journey?
I am fun without alcohol.
Yeah. What's your best sober moment?
Meeting my younger sister. That really was amazing. It was a gift.
What are you drinking now that doesn't have alcohol in it?
High quality H2O, bubbly waters, poppy sodas.
What's the point of life?
To be happy.
What's your favorite place to go snowboarding?
Anywhere that has snow. My home mountain here is North Star.
What's your favorite Quit-Lit book?
The Big Book of AA.
That checks out for sure. You like pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Heck yeah.
All right. And then what parting piece of guidance can you give someone who wants to quit drinking?
Give yourself a chance. See what could come from it. It's likely going to be very positive for you. So give yourself that chance. You deserve it.
And then Steph, before you depart, let's hear your own "you might need to ditch the booze if" line.
You might need to ditch the booze if your hangover feels like an emotional debt that you can't afford.
Well said. I like how you phrased that, for sure. We're in the right place. Steph, thank you so much for coming on here with 41 days alcohol free. That's incredible. I know you'll hit 42 and beyond, and we're right here with you, rooting you on. So thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.
The drunkest county in America also has the best sober summer camp in America and probably the world. So join us this August 12th to the 16th for an incredible time. There's a link in the show notes. Thank you, Robin. I want to thank our production team for today's episode, our editor, Natasha, Robin on the show notes, and Chris on the mixing decks, putting it all together. Chris, can I get a wiki? Wiki. And I also want to thank our sponsors. Recovery Elevator, it all starts from the inside out. I love you guys.
I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior.